Hi, I'm Mr. Lewis, and I'm going to be telling you about how I made $1,000 in my first 3 months on Teachers Pay Teachers. So let me give you a little disclaimer at first. I did not expect to do this well, and I'm sure that there are other people who have done much better in their first 3 months. Also, I'm not pretending that I'm the expert in all things Teachers Pay Teachers, but there are some things that I feel like I've done well and some things that I've learned over these last few months that I'm going to be sharing. And really, I'm just going to be telling my story and what I've done, and you can take any of that and use it yourself if you think it would be helpful for you. So first off, I'm a secondary social studies teacher. I've taught 7th, 8th, and 9th grade social studies classes primarily. So that's ranged everything from geography to U.S. history to world history to economics to civics, all kinds of different things in 23 years of teaching. So a couple of things. The very first thing I would say that I have done well is I've learned from my mistakes. And let me preface this a little bit. I guess technically I've made $1,000 in my first 4 years on Teachers Pay Teachers because I first started my store way back in 2019 and started my store. I put up a free item, which is interestingly enough the same free item I still have up now. I put one product up, and in my mind I thought, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this up here, and if it starts to do well, then I'll start adding some more things, and maybe I'll do the $60 a year membership, and maybe I'll, as it grows. And what ended up happening is I never really even looked back at it. I didn't even know that in 2020 somebody bought it, and then in 2021 someone else bought it. I never even got paid for it because I'd never updated my information. And so I didn't even know until July of this year, July of 2023, that I had even sold that product a couple of times all those years ago. And so really, I feel like late July is when I actually started the store because the first go round really kind of didn't count. So, and that's one of the things that I've done is I've learned from all those mistakes I made at the beginning. I'm going to talk about some of those things right now. So it's been just this week I hit that milestone of $1,000 in earnings, not even just $1,000 in sales. I'm well over that at this point, but it's $1,000 in earnings. So let me talk to you about a couple of things I've done. First of all, I decided this time around I was just going to go all in. Like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. And so I jumped in with both feet. I bought the membership like basically day one. I invested a lot of time and effort into branding. And so my products all have a similar look, at least the similar products do. My projects all kind of have a similar thumbnail look and a similar look as to how they look. That's great. A similar look on the page. My kind of signature item, I guess you could say, my Today in History warm-ups, they all have a very similar look. And it's a look that stands out and looks different from what other similar products have. And it looks consistent. And I noticed that the successful similar items, you can tell whose it is just by looking at the thumbnail. And that's one of the things that I wanted to do with my branding. I did this on Canva. That was the resource that I used. Well, I say I used. We used. No, wait, I take this back. My lovely wife used. And so this is another, I would say, something that I'm going to get to is talking about how you definitely want to involve other people in this as much as possible. But I'll get to that in a minute. The other thing is I've jumped all in on marketing. So I've got a YouTube channel. You know that because you're watching me right now. My products are up on Pinterest. I have an email list. And by the way, please join my email list. There's a link down in the description. If you join the email list, you get a free product and you have products that you can choose from. It's not whichever one I decide to give you. You'll have a large list to choose from of items. I'd love to have you join my email list and you get that free item. So anyway, back to what I was saying before about having somebody that you can rely on, somebody that helps you. Well, for me, that's my wife, and we talked about it this summer, and she's maybe a bigger reason for the success that I've had so far than I am. I've come up with the products, I've got the teaching experience, but she's the one that has really hammered home the branding. Hopefully we'll be putting up here on the screen the thumbnail difference, like what my original thumbnail was. No one would ever buy this product, to what my wife came up with, which is so much better, and maybe even some of the in-betweens of how we got there. It was interesting because we had this one idea that looked good, but it just looked very elementary school, which would be great if I were a third grade teacher, but that's not what I am. And so then we transitioned to have it be the one that I have now, and it's been really successful, and I feel like it's really uniform and good. The other kind of funny thing is I had this photo of me originally that I thought looked really cool. Tough guy, Mr. Lewis, you know, don't mess with me. It's this great photo of me from back in 2012. I look like I'm in a biker gang or something. I don't know what it is. But she made me change that picture to a much nicer looking one that wouldn't scare people off. So these are things, but more than that, like I've been able to have her honestly show me, hey, this doesn't look good, or I think you should do this, or what about this? And she brings such an interesting perspective because she's not a teacher and she doesn't come from that world. Not everybody has somebody like Mrs. Lewis around to help you out. So what I would do is find a colleague. Be open and honest, like, hey, here's what I'm doing. What do you think? And find that person. There's somebody in every department who's not going to sugarcoat things, who's not going to be like, oh, it looks so great, but be like, no, I wouldn't buy that, or you need to change this, or I would recommend this. And have that somebody that you can rely on that will be honest with you and give you really good advice. Another thing I think that's really helped me to be successful so far is I have a signature product. I have my Today in History warm-ups, and these are things that I've been using in class for about 5 years now, and I've refined it in my own classroom to where I know it's really good. And my colleagues have been using it for years as well. It's kind of funny because it was kind of one by one, each of them started using it, and they really enjoy using it. So I know it's a product that's not just something for me, but that other people can use and enjoy. And so I've just gone all in on that product. Like that's my big thing. And I do have some other things in my store, but that signature product accounts for about 90% of the money I've made so far. I mean, I've made a little bit of money here and there off of some other things, but that product, that's the big one. And going along with that, you definitely want to get bundles. You want to make bundles, especially related to that signature product. That's when I talk about 90% of my sales come from my Today in History, 75% of my total sales have come from my Today in History bundle. And so that is my big seller. So I definitely, that's something that's really worked for me, and from what I've seen with others, it has as well. And that's the other thing. Watch some YouTube channels of people that know a lot more than I do. My wife has watched a lot of TPT channels on YouTube and gotten all kinds of great ideas and advice these things have been really helpful to us in knowing how to get my store going. The next thing I would say is you really need to be very aware of the titles of your products. For me, I have tweaked it so many times. I wish I had like a whole list of every change I ever made. I wish I'd kept track of that because that would be kind of funny, I think, to go through. But I have changed the title of my product, tweaked it little bits here and there multiple times, and also the description, especially the first few lines of your description, because that's what shows up in the search. And the way I've done it, and the reason I've done it is what I did is I had my title in there and I thought it was a good title, and then I would go and search for the product as if I were a regular history teacher or social studies teacher going on there trying to find some daily warm-ups. And my product wasn't coming up anywhere near the top of the search. I was pages and pages in. And so what I did is I looked at, okay, which ones have come up higher than I have in the search? And then I refined my title and I refined my description because it's only the first part of that description that ends up in the search. And I made sure that I've kind of covered all my bases. One just simple thing is a lot of these products are called This Day in History, and a lot of these products are called Today in History. And so I have both of those things in my title, so that they both come up in the search. My title is This Day Today in History, which sounds stupid, and it kind of does sound stupid, but it makes sure that I get both of those searches in there. So, and I go in there all the time, and I just keep making these refinements. So I definitely recommend doing that. And going along with that, research other people's products, research other people that are doing similar things. Sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming when I see somebody that's got, 800 followers and 14,000 items in their store and 10,000 reviews or whatever. And I'm like, wow, I am nowhere near that. And I could never be that. And that's okay. But it's also encouraging because it tells me, hey, you know what? Maybe I can make this something that becomes something that's a real, monetary asset to me, especially as I'm getting closer to retirement. The last thing I would say that has helped me was timing. And it was just natural timing because when do I have time to do this? Well, summertime. And so my store got up right there towards the end of July. And what I've come to find out is August is the month. I think it's the biggest month for just about everybody who has a store on TPT. And especially for me, where mine is a warm-up thing, that might be something you'd be more likely to do at the beginning of the year. And so I had my best sales. That's still my best month is August. And September and October have been better than I expected. I thought there'd be a much bigger drop-off. But still, I'm looking forward to next August because I think I'm really going to do much, much better than I've done in any month before. And I kind of regret that I didn't start about a month earlier, because if I'd gotten my stuff up in June, then I could have done a lot of these refinements and everything in July and had my store in a much better place day 1 of August than I have. Then it wasn't really till about halfway through August that I think I got my act somewhat together, and it made a big difference. So I guess I can say those are some of the things that I've done and that have been successful for me. If you have any questions for me, or if you have any comments about what I've done, please feel free to leave those things in the comments. I'd love to be of any help that I can be. This is Learn with Mr. Lewis.